Welcome back to a new episode of Life in Pictures. I bet you thought you had gotten rid of us because we haven't been on our normal bi-weekly Sunday release schedule. But we're back. Much like the movie we're discussing this time.
Yes.
It took way longer than a couple of weeks to come out. So, I mean, by those standards, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, we didn't take 30 years, so, it's all good.
Yeah. If you're not aware, this week we are discussing Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Which is currently still in theaters. It might not be anymore by this point.
No, it is.
No,
it is.
Okay.
It was a very highly anticipated sequel to the 1980s theatrical hit Top Gun.
Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer.
Mm-hmm. So Top Gun Maverick was...
Now, let's just start we'll back up a little bit. I'll have to admit, I'm a little late to the Top Gun party. Obviously I grew up, everybody... This is one of those movies that like everybody has seen and you're just kind of expected to have seen it. And I'll admit, that's one of those movies that like I'd never seen before. We finally watched it on Netflix not too long before this sequel came out. Because we were like, I'd like to see the sequel, and I'd like to see the first one before I see the sequel. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the original movie. I thought the sequel was on par with the original. It was pretty good.
I think I might have liked the sequel better.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I feel like I might have a different opinion if I had seen it back then and you had the kind of nostalgia factor, which I didn't have much of because I saw both of the films in the same year. Now, I mean, I was aware of the first one. I knew some of the quotes and some of the scenes and things like that, but I don't think I'd ever sat down and watched it from start to finish before.
Gotcha.
So you hadn't seen it either, right?
No,
okay.
I'm not. Boy movies are not really, but it was good. It was fine. I did enjoy the sequel. I think it could have been a little shorter. But that's kind of a complaint that I have in general with movies lately is I feel like they're trying to like touch that like 2.5 hour mark.
A lot of movies are doing that. It used to be like you could pretty much just count on any movie you're going to go see, they're going to wrap it up in 2 hours.
Yeah.
If it's a kid's movie, 90 minutes.
Right. Not so much anymore.
Now they're kind of, like you're saying, they're kind of going to these grand storylines.
2.5, 3 hours. And not that it wasn't that it didn't hold my attention. I liked the movie. It just feels like a really long time.
The good thing about that is if you watch them at home, you can break them up. You can't do that in the theater, though. Right. You're there till, unless you want to walk out or something, but it'd have to be pretty bad for that to happen.
Right. So where can you watch Top Gun Maverick? Well, right now, in the theaters, it was released May 27th, 2022. If the 120-day theatrical window holds for this film, which they're predicting that it will because it's still pretty popular, the earliest it will be available for streaming is September 24th. And it's going to have... kind of streaming rights with Paramount Plus, so they may be able to stream it earlier, but it's just all kind of speculation at this point. Nobody really knows for sure. And
they're going to keep it in the theater as long as they can because this has been shattering box office records. Mm-hmm. It's very highly anticipated. I believe originally it was planned to be released around the time of the pandemic. Even before, and I think that kind of threw it off a little bit, and then I think there might have even been talk of it just going straight to Paramount Plus at one point.
I think that Tom Cruise was very adamant that this was a movie that needed to be released in the theaters. It needed a theatrical release. So there's actually a lot of interesting facts about the movie and the making of the movie, but as we always do, let's give like a little brief summary of the film.
All right, summary of the film. Now, our usual disclaimers. Number one, spoilers. Every episode of this show is going to have spoilers. So if you're new to this show, which you might be, if you have not seen this film yet, and you want to know, and you don't want to know what happens, go watch the film first.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, fair warning, there's going to be spoilers. Now, that being said, this is another film that's a current run in the theater. We've seen it one time. So we're kind of just going off of memory. And to be full disclosure, we saw this movie probably a month ago or something. So our memories might not be the sharpest on this. So we're going to do the best we can. But we wanted to kind of start covering some more current movies in addition to the older ones, just to mix it up a little bit. And, go over some recent things that we've seen. So here's the summary of this movie to the best of my recollection. All right. So in the beginning, Tom Cruise is still in the Navy. He's still doing his pilot thing. He's still a hotshot Navy pilot. And he is testing... Is it a new plane or is it just the capabilities of the existing plane? Do you remember?
I don't know. Something about Mach 10.
They're trying to get to Mach 10. And he's doing all of these tests. And then they say, well, this guy's coming to shut you down. I think the guy that's coming to shut him down is played by John Hamm, if I remember correctly. That's his name, right? John Hamm from Mad Men and John Hamm things. And so, anyway, Maverick being Maverick, he says, no, well, he ain't here yet. We're going to do it anyway. So he goes and he tests this plane, and I think he actually hits Mach 9, which is, I think Mach 9 is maybe what they were trying for that day or something. And then he pushes it even further, and he's like, I could get to Mach 10. And I think he does get to Mach 10, but the plane cannot go at Mach 10 speed for very long. Engine blows out or something like that. He doesn't die or anything. He makes it back to Earth, obviously. I guess he was on Earth the whole time. He makes it back to the ground.
Right.
And he's alive.
So anyway, he destroys this multi-billion-dollar Navy plane. And so he's in trouble.
Yeah. So his punishment is they say, all right, well, that's it for you. You have to go back and teach Top Gun again. Teach the Top Gun, the current class of Top Gun. So he goes back to Top Gun, honestly, this movie was very similar to the first one in a lot of regards. It's like he's the teacher now instead of the student or whatever, but it's like the same, there's like a whole cast of characters of these, too cool for school pilots, and then you've got like, I don't even remember the new people's names, but there's the one guy that's kind of like, he's like a dick to everyone. He's sort of like the new Val Kilmer. And, then there's like, I guess Goose's son is kind of like the new Tom Cruise, maybe, because it's like...
he's called Rooster.
Yeah, some of these people, I don't know, they kind of have the same type roles. Anyway, so that's what's happening there. And, so it turns out they have this mission they have to go on where... they have to destroy is it like a weapons carrier or some type of like underground weapons facility.
Yeah.
And, of course, in order to do that, it's some crazy thing that, nobody's ever tried to do before. And only Maverick is capable of figuring out how to do it and showing other people how to do it. And so he works with them, for... weeks upon weeks of carrying out a plan and practicing it and all this stuff. And in the process, he reunites with Jennifer Connelly, whose character's name might as well be Jennifer Connelly because I don't remember what it is. That's probably another side effect of not being that familiar with the original one. I'm sure some people listening to this right now are just probably screaming it at their
she wasn't
stereo.
in the original one.
Was she not in? Oh, that was that other lady that's not in this. Okay.
Yeah.
But apparently they had some kind of history that they clearly did not explain in the first one if she wasn't in it. So.
Right. So there's, they allude to the fact that like in this in-between time, they've had some kind of a romantic relationship, but it's hasn't worked out in the past. But she is not in the original film.
Okay.
But
So they reunite. He does his thing. He teaches them. Eventually, they go on this mission, the class that he's teaching, and they almost pull it off, but they get detected, and his plane gets shot down. Goose's son Rooster goes back to save him. They end up escaping together, but then they still get kind of chased, and then the new Val Kilmer dude saves them in the end, and all is well. It's really very similar to the original Top Gun. They have the same old like cheesy 80s music and stuff in there. I mean, you can really tell it's like depending on how you look at it, it's either just like a really cheesy sequel or it's like a love letter to the original audience. I don't know, however you want to interpret that. But that's basically the plot of the film. I thought it was good. I mean, despite even, if you want to say it's kind of cheesy in that way, you can say that. But I enjoyed it. Even without having the history with the original film that probably a lot of the audience had, I still enjoyed it. We got some interesting facts about this movie here. Like we said, it was originally supposed to be released in 2019, but then it was delayed to 2020 because they needed more time to film the action scenes. And then, of course, 2020 screwed up a lot of things for a lot of people, and this was one of the things that got screwed up. And so I guess that delayed it even longer until this summer.
Yeah.
So, that's quite a delay, but probably worth it to anyone who was waiting for the sequel, which was a lot of people for a long time.
So Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer are the only actors that reprise their original roles from the first film,
which is interesting as well. One thing that I thought was really cool about made me want to see this movie was I don't know if everybody's up to speed on this, but Val Kilmer, he had a bout with throat cancer, I believe it was. And so he had a tracheotomy. He can't really speak in the way that he used to prior to that. So that obviously affects his acting. And I heard that he would be in the movie, and I was kind of curious as to how are they going to account for that for his character? And it turns out the way that they accounted for that was through the use of AI in order to bring his voice back. And I thought that was really cool. I was excited for that scene. How's this going to play out? And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I mean, they sounded
and they kind of wrote the character was battling cancer.
Yeah.
And he couldn't really speak, so he used a computer.
Yeah.
To do most of his talking for him. So it was really interesting to see how they kind of wrote that for him.
Yeah, really kind of bittersweet too, to kind of see I guess the difference in the character from the original film to this film, where in this film he's kind of had this full career. He's kind of risen up the ranks of the Navy, and they were saying that he's been the one this whole time. Whenever Tom Cruise would get in trouble, he would pull strings to get him out of it or whatever. And so even though they've always had that rivalry, deep down they're still friends.
Yeah. And
it was nice to see that was still the case. And eventually in the movie he loses his battle. And so it was nice that they had that one kind of last scene together.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, because it was the characters, but also, I mean, Val Kilmer himself, I don't think is really making too many movies anymore because of that. So it was nice that despite having that challenge, they still found a way to incorporate him into this movie.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen, this is a side note, if you haven't seen it, there's a documentary on Amazon called Val that Val Kilmer actually made. that explains a lot of what he's been up to and what's going on in his life. So if you haven't seen it, if you're listening to this and you like Top Gun, chances are you probably like Val Kilmer. So you should check that out too. It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Mm-hmm. So to kind of change the subject to something slightly happier, this is the first time that a Tom Cruise film has made over $100 million on its opening weekend.
Yeah, it's just shattering records. I mean, that's crazy. It's good though. That's fantastic that it's doing that well.
I think the anticipation of this movie being released, and because it was supposed to be released, 4 years ago now at this point, I think that people just really have been dying to see it, and it was a smart move holding it until they could get the proper theatrical release.
Yeah, you wouldn't have wanted this to go straight to streaming or, release it during a time when not everybody is going to the theater, or maybe not even all of the theaters are even open. Mm-hmm. Because during that lockdown, it was kind of sporadic. Like, oh, we're open this week, now we're not, now we are, now we kind of are. Some movies are showing, some aren't. Now it's a little more of an even keel with that. So they definitely picked the right time to put that back in the theaters, or put it in the theaters for the first time, I guess. So Tom Cruise is not a very tall man. I think that is common knowledge. But apparently that worked to his advantage this time, because his height at 5'7" is a pretty good height for a fighter pilot.
Mm-hmm. It's the ideal height, in fact.
There you go.
So the naval station that's used in the original film was actually moved out to Nevada. So in order to have those beach scenes, the Top Gun location is fictional in this film because, Nevada's in the desert.
I mean, they don't have a beach in the middle of Nevada?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
See, geography lessons you're getting here on our show.
The movies just ruin everything for me. Well, after that disappointing news, there were 800 hours of footage that were shot for this film. They wanted to have as much footage shot as Peter Jackson did for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like the whole trilogy combined. Mm-hmm. So they were going really hardcore with this movie, which is good. That benefits us because then they made a good movie out of it. So.
Yeah. So I wonder, like, they could probably, have a whole other movie. 800 hours of footage. That's a lot.
That is quite a bit. I mean, imagine the bonus features that that they could make.
So Miles Teller, he picked his call sign, and he chose Rooster because it was related to Goose, and obviously he played Goose's son. So that's a fun little fact. He got to pick the name, and that's what he chose. Yeah.
And, speaking of all the callbacks to the original film, he learned to play Great Balls of Fire on the piano, which is something that Goose, his father, did in the original film. Mm-hmm. So that was a kind of a little cool nod to the first one.
So when they were casting the movie, Tom Cruise actually had some of the actors that were in the final running for Rooster come to his home so he could kind of make the decision. And the actor that plays Hangman, and Hangman is the guy that's the Val Kilmer of this film, if you will, and his name is Glenn Powell. He was actually one of the actors in the running for Rooster. And Tom Cruise was so impressed with him that he expanded this role of Hangman for him specifically, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Apparently, Hangman selects number 86 of the jukebox for one of the songs in this film, and that's significant because the original movie was released in 1986.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice little Easter egg there.
Yeah.
So as of July 2022, when we are filming this. The movie has grossed over $1 billion.
$1 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. I don't think that there's that many films that can make that claim.
And it has, I mean, it's only been out a couple of months.
Yeah, so it's not even done yet. So that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know how many other films are in that club, but I would imagine it's a pretty small club.
It's probably like Marvel movies.
Yeah. Okay, so what else is interesting about this movie? Well, Fanboy's helmet has his name written on it in the same font as Star Trek, which is another franchise that is owned by Paramount.
Mm-hmm. The World War II P-51 Mustang seen at the end of the film is Tom Cruise's own airplane.
Tom Cruise, man. That guy's got to be loaded.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't before, he definitely should be now. I don't know what his contract was like for this movie, but I wonder how much of that billion he's accounted for.
I'm sure. I mean, he's been in so many blockbuster movies.
Yeah, he's a great actor. You can't really.
I think he's a little off his rocker.
I think in real life, but I mean, I think.
But he is a great.
I don't think there's that many roles that I've seen him in that he wasn't good in. You know, like whether you think he's a weirdo or whatever. Like I don't think there's. I can recall any movies really that I've seen with him in it that he didn't put on a good performance for.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
He deserves what he's got. I'm not trying to disparage him. I'm just wondering, good for him. However much he had before, I'm sure he's doing better now.
Exactly.
Unless he just makes some questionable decisions or something.
I don't think so. He seems like
he's got it figured out by now.
He might invest it wisely.
Yeah.
This film was actually dedicated to the original Top Gun director, Tony Scott, who was in the process of developing a version of this sequel when he passed away. So they decided to kind of move forward with it in his honor.
Yeah. Which is also sad, but it's good that they could honor him. Kind of trade-offs,
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Tom Cruise decided that they should shoot the shirtless beach scene twice because he didn't think that the actors looked ripped enough in the first version.
Yeah. So he made them go on diets and not eat for a week, and then they filmed it again.
Which is another staple of kind of the first one. You've got shirtless Navy dudes glistening in the sun playing volleyball while they listen to Kenny Loggins. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff incorporated into the sequel. So if you were a fan of that in the first time around, guess what? You're going to like this second one too. And if you weren't, then I guess you won't. I don't know.
One of the things that I read when I was doing some research for the interesting facts, but it didn't somehow make the list. When they were filming that scene in the beginning where he comes back in on the plane and it makes the roof come off the little post station. I don't know what that thing's called. That was not planned or scripted, and that was not supposed to happen, but because it was so expensive to shoot, they just left it.
Yeah.
But I think that was I think that made it really cool.
Yeah.
Because you could tell the power of the plane. It not only made everything shake, but it literally lifted the roof off of that building.
Well, sometimes the best things that happen are not planned. Mm-hmm. You hear about that every once in a while in a movie or a TV show or whatever. And it's like, yeah, we didn't originally plan on this, but it was good, so we left it, or maybe somebody ad-libbed a line or something like that. And it's like, yeah, this wasn't what we wanted, but it's better than what we planned, so we left it in.
I think as far as a favorite scene for me in the film, it would definitely have to be that scene with Val Kilmer.
Yes.
I think it was, it just showed how far they've come and how their relationship had grown over the years and how much they cared about each other and wanted each other to do well. And So I thought that was kind of my favorite scene of the movie. And then obviously it was very sad that he passed away. And it seemed to follow a similar format with the first film. Like, someone dies, he's very sad, he wants redemption.
Yeah.
Fly the airplanes,
Yeah,
you know.
it's a very similar movie.
Yeah, it had, but it's good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
There's a lot of parallels.
What would you say your favorite scene was?
I mean, definitely that one for sure. I mean, I as soon as I heard that they were using AI to make his voice, I was curious as to how that was going to play out. And I was waiting for that kind of the whole movie. Like, when's that scene going to happen? But other than that, I don't know if there's like a particular favorite scene. But I mean, just, I don't know. It was cool watching him fly planes around and blow stuff up and, you know, like do all these maneuvers that, you know, like
Boy movie stuff.
People can't do, or, you know, whatever. Like, you have to be the best pilot ever in order to do this type thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was nice to see all of the callbacks. They had some of the same music and stuff like that from the first one. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like I said, I didn't have the same kind of nostalgia factor as probably somebody who grew up watching it, but it was I had seen the first one, so it was cool to see the callbacks to it. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, and it was nice to just see the film finally get a release, because I've been hearing it talked about for the past, you know, few years.
Yeah, that's definitely a film that you gotta see in the theater.
Yeah.
You need that big screen,
you need
that
the
surround
system.
sound. You know, the chairs are almost vibrating because it's so loud.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's, even if you haven't seen the first one, I think
yeah,
you would still enjoy it. It holds up on its own.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that I don't really know that you had to see the first one, because they kind of explained a little bit of the backstory well enough that.
Well, the thing is, like, the story isn't that deep. You know, I mean, it's, you kind of can. I mean, it sounds kind of stupid to say, oh, it's like, you know, it's like an 80s movie, because it is an 80s movie. But, like, you know, it wasn't like, I don't think it was that deep at the time. It was basically just like, here's some popular actors of the day, and, you know, they're going to fly planes around or something, and we got a little bit of a storyline, but they never go like super deep into any particular character or storyline. It's just like, this is your, you know, Val Kilmer's the jerk of the group. He thinks he's, you know, too good for everyone. Like, Tom Cruise is like kind of the underdog. He's got something to prove. You know, Goose is like his sidekick, but he's kind of one-dimensional. He just goes along with Tom Cruise and sings songs in bars or I don't know. Like, and then he dies, and it's like, oh no, he died. I'm like, I didn't really have time to really care about that guy anyway. Like, what did he do that I'm supposed to like feel bad about? You know. And so it's kind of the same thing here, where like Rooster shows up. He's like, you killed my dad, and I'm still just like, nobody cares about your dad, dude. Like, I didn't care, you know.
That's so mean.
But I'm not saying like nobody cares about his dad. I'm just saying it was like the character.
That's not why Rooster didn't like him.
The character didn't have like much depth. I didn't think. I didn't think a lot of those characters had a lot of depth. You know, like, and I think that's just kind of the style at the time when they were making movies. So I think when they made this movie, like, there was a little more depth to it. But they kind of continued that tradition where it's just, you know, you don't have to be super engrossed in this movie to follow what's happening.
Right.
You know?
And I think that opens it up to a new generation. So if you want to see both films in order, you can. If you just want to see the sequel, it stands on its own. It's okay to see it without the original. And I almost think when you wait 30 years to make a sequel, you kind of have to do it that way.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to like criticize it. I think it was a good movie. I enjoyed it, but I mean, you know, that's kind of how the original movie was too, where like it's not really like that deep of a movie or anything. There's some movies where it's like you have to really pay attention to everything that happens, or else you're just not gonna have any idea what's happening. And then there's some movies where it's like, you know, you could probably look at your phone the whole time and still be totally
right. Well, it's a boy movie,
so
it's made for boys.
This was one of those. So
I mean, that's pretty much That's pretty much it for Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, this episode is probably gonna be a little on the shorter side. You know, like we said, it's one that we've only seen one time. We don't really have the luxury of going back and watching it again. So I mean, it's really just more of a like, hey, this is a review. We've seen this movie. Here's what we think. You know, hopefully, this maybe if you're thinking about checking it out, this might, you know, assuming that you're not the type of person that cares about spoilers, or if you've already seen it and you just, you know, you're curious what we think. I don't know. You know, we did post it a little bit later, so you know, I think the last few episodes we've had a few listens to them. We've had maybe like 5, and I think I was 2 of the 5. So to those other 3 people, I'm really sorry that we took these extra few weeks, but I hope that if you accidentally stumble on this again, that we've redeemed ourselves for you. But all kidding aside, though, you know, we do appreciate it when people listen. That's not our prime motivator. This is just kind of something we're doing for fun. But we appreciate whoever's listening, however large or small the audience may be. And if you are somebody who is out there listening, or you stumbled upon this podcast, or however you got here, we're happy you're here. And if you feel so inclined, if you want to interact with us, we have social media accounts. We are at Life in Pics Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And on Facebook and YouTube, we are Life in Pictures Podcast. And if you feel like you want to, you know, spread the word about what we're doing, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. I've been told that helps elevate the podcast up if you get enough positive reviews. But if you don't, that's cool too. Like we said, we're doing this for fun. If it catches on, great. If not, it's just for fun. So. Also,
if you have any suggestions of what we should talk about next,
that'd be great, because we don't have any idea yet.
Yeah, there's so many movies. The possibilities are endless. So if there's something you're just dying for us to talk about, please let us know on our socials.
Yeah, and if you have any just, you know, questions or comments, or you just want to say hi, whatever, feel free to hit us up and leave one of those reviews if you want to. If you don't, that's fine too. That being said, I think that's really about all we have to say about that.
Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Life in Pictures podcast, and we hope you've enjoyed the show.